Some have questioned whether the austerity programs in Europe have gone too far. Are there lessons? What's working and what's not working?
Well, I can surely tell you that what we would never do would be to dramatically slash spending by $1 trillion or $2 trillion as I came into the White House. Instead, I would look to eliminate programs which over time are going to be growing and taking up a larger and larger share of our economy. Get rid of some of those programs like Obamacare, that's the easiest one to get rid of, and thereby balance our budget, but don't cut it all in the first year, or you could in fact cause a slowdown of our economy. And I don't know that I'm going to tell you precisely why each country got in the trouble they did in Europe, but I think over time it's been massive overspending and borrowing by their respective governments.
But in order to bring down a $16 trillion debt, you need more revenue. So where does the money come from?
Well, you begin, of course, by taking action that slows down and ultimately reduces the growth of government. You actually eliminate programs. And then number two, you take some programs that have been growing at very fast rates and you send them back to states and you say they're going to grow at the rate of inflation or inflation plus 1% in the case of something like Medicaid. Take Medicaid, food stamps, housing vouchers, have them go back to the states and be administered there and hold down their rate of growth. You do those two things, plus you make sure that government doesn't continue to grow, but instead you shrink the number of government employees through attrition by about 10%, and you get America down by about $500 billion a year in spending within 4 years. That allows us to stimulate growth at the same time because we have tax policies that encourage small businesses to hire and to grow again. And we finally get to a balanced budget. Once you get to a balanced budget, you begin to pay off the debt.
People think Washington is broken. So how do you fix it?
I think it is broken. I think it's virtually impossible for a group of, 535 men and women to be able to make decisions. I think you have to have a leader. You have to have a president who will be actively engaged in the legislative process, putting forward his or her views, fighting for them, finding coalitions that support those views, working with people on both sides of the aisle, and trying to build coalitions. I mean, I was elected governor of a state with a legislature that was 87% Democrat. I couldn't have gotten anything done had I not been willing to work with the leaders of the Democratic Party on a collaborative basis and find some common ground here and there. Not everywhere, we couldn't agree everywhere, but a number of important areas. That has to happen in Washington, but it will not happen unless you have someone who has the experience and the capability of really being a leader. And you know, President Obama is a very nice fellow, according to people who know him well, but you know, he's never served as a leader before. He hasn't run a state or a city or a business, and so he's kind of learning this leadership thing on the job, and he's making some of the errors that I think have accounted for the fact that this economy has been so difficult in terms of rebooting and putting people back to work.
So what about you personally? What is it like to run for president physically?
There's a lot of work, a lot of endurance, early mornings, late nights, but meeting with audiences like here in Cornwall, it's exhilarating. It's exciting to have people support you like they do and grab onto you and give you encouragement and tell you they're with you and they're going to help you. And you know, you come away with more energy, not less. And at the end of the day, I usually have a hard time falling asleep, not because I'm worried, but because I'm so energized from the people that I've met.